WWE presents Evolution on Sunday, July 13th from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. Of course, just the second ever WWE Evolution Premium Live event, which of course is WWE's special all-women's PLE. Now, considering it's the second iteration of the show for the first time since 2018, could Paul Triple H Levesque and his creative team have some major surprises and plans up their sleeve for when the women's division rolls into Atlanta, Georgia next weekend? We're going to let you know of 5 possible major surprises that Triple H and Co. may have planned for WWE Evolution. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Before we begin today's countdown video, you can see right there, we are less than 50 subscribers to go until 23,000. Of course, getting closer and closer to our goal of hitting 25,000 subscribers in 2025. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Join the ever-expanding WNU. In addition, you can become a member of the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content. So whilst checking out the sidebar, you can see all upcoming live streams we've got on the channel. That includes AEW All in Texas, Saturday night's main event Goldberg vs. Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship in Goldberg's retirement match, and WWE Evolution. We'll have live watch-alongs and live post-shows for all of those events. Now, let's get into today's countdown video and let's talk about WWE Evolution. As I spoke about in the intro for this video, WWE presents the second ever all-women's WWE Evolution PLE on Sunday, July 13th from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. And given the fact that it's only the second ever time an event like this has happened, could Triple H and Co. have some major surprises planned for the all-women's PLE? Let's begin with the Bella Twins. The Bella Twins, could they return? Now, this is really interesting because it looked like this was definitely going to happen, or at least one half of the Bella Twins and Nikki Bella was going to return to the ring or to action or something like that in the build-up to Evolution. But of course, injuries and plans have changed since then. Now, Nikki Bella returned to WWE programming last month, actually, kickstarting a program with then one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions, Liv Morgan. Now, WWE's plans indicated either a singles match between the two women at Evolution 2025 or else possibly a Women's Tag Team Championship match pitting the Bella Twins against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Of course, however, these plans had to change when Morgan suffered an ill-timed injury, ruling her out of the show, leading up to WWE reportedly ripping up the plans for the PLE cards and several dominoes falling. Now, Nikki Bella, since the injury, has yet to resurface on WWE programming at the time recording this video, as Morgan's undergone surgery with her status for the Evolution show up in the air. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, according to a recent report, despite not yet being announced for a match or the show in general at the time recording this video, Nikki Bella is still planned to be on the show. Now, as far as what she could be doing on the show, we don't know at this point. She could be in the Battle Royal. She could be added for a match that's yet to be announced. We're not sure. Now, as far as her twin sister, Brie Bella, that's even more up in the air when it comes to her status. Now, it was reported last month that TMZ had reported that Brie Bella was in talks with WWE for a return to the ring ahead of the All-Women's Evolution PLE, which of course is being held this coming Sunday in Atlanta on July 13th at the State Farm Arena. Now, the report said it was unclear if Brie was going to be competing in the ring at the show or if it was going to be a situation where maybe she'd just be in the corner of Nikki for a match against Liv Morgan. She actually hasn't wrestled since the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble match. Her last match prior to that was in 2018. Now, TMZ at the time wrote, "A source with direct knowledge tells us Nikki's twin is in talks to unretire and help her sister kick some ass at the promotion's all-women's pay-per-view event Evolution next month." However, Brie Bella kind of then disputed this because in an interview, she then said, quote, "I would love to return, but I'm kind of waiting for that call still. Nikki got the call, Brie didn't. I didn't change my number. If you guys wanted to know, it's still the same." So we don't know if Brie's even been contacted. We don't know if Nikki's going to actually appear at the show. But given the fact that Nikki did appear for a beginning of a feud against Liv Morgan, given the fact that she was actually backstage on the night that Morgan suffered the injury on Raw, and she was planned to have a run-in later on during that match. Seemingly WWE, you would think, would have plans to still have Nikki Bella at the show, and if Nikki Bella's there, you feel like Brie will likely be there as well. Maybe it's a case of Brie doesn't wrestle, but Nikki does. There is a Battle Royal, and several of the participants in the Battle Royal for Evolution have yet to actually be confirmed. Of course, the winner of that Battle Royal receives a Women's World Championship match at Clash in Paris, and at the time of recording, there haven't really been any participants that have been announced, I think outside of Ivy Now and Stephanie Vaquer, so there's plenty of names that could be added to that one, so don't rule out seeing the Hall of Famers at the show. Now, what about Liv Morgan herself, though? As I just spoken about, Liv Morgan out of action with an injury, but could she still actually appear at the show despite possibly not returning to the ring for up to 6 months? Now, creative plans, as I mentioned, for WWE Evolution have completely changed and been ripped up due to this unfortunate freak injury to now former Women's Tag Team Champion Liv Morgan. Now, rumours began swirling about what the plans originally were and what they were actually going to be, and etc., etc. Liv Morgan, as I mentioned, she suffered that dislocated shoulder injury on an episode of Raw a few weeks ago. She landed awkwardly during a match against Kairi Sane. In the aftermath, it was revealed that her injury was a worst-case scenario as she required surgery. Now, this past week, Morgan actually officially underwent shoulder surgery with Andrews Sports Medicine in Birmingham, Alabama, and is now on the road to recovery. Kevin Wilk, a physical therapist working at Champion Sports Medicine, posted on social media this week, revealing an image of Morgan post-surgery with her arm in a sling, revealing that he was set to aid her across the rehabilitation process. Now, how she could actually appear at the show, despite not obviously being physically clear to compete or anything like that. At one point, she was planned for the show, and she still has several ties into the show. There could be a situation where she continues to feud with Nikki Bella and Brie Bella, possibly appearing, and that allows them to get thrown out of the ring in the Battle Royal. Of course, there is also a fatal four-way match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Morgan was one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions. There was a situation that played out for a couple of weeks where WWE kept saying that the general managers on Raw and SmackDown, Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, were deciding what they wanted to do with the Women's Tag Team titles. Now, what they have said is that Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez are now the Women's Tag Team Champions, with Perez replacing Morgan as the Judgment Day member as the Women's Tag Team Champions. They're set to defend their championship in this fatal four-way match at Evolution against a team from Raw and a team from NXT that have yet to be determined at the time recording this video. But we know the team from SmackDown is Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. They qualified this past Friday night on SmackDown, the July 4th edition of the show. What we could see is a situation where Morgan does appear, doesn't even get involved in the match. We could see Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez retain the titles, and Morgan could actually give the championship to Roxanne Perez, a kind of passing of the torch and a kind of acknowledgement that Liv Morgan, here you go, you're the champion, you team with Raquel, I'm not going to be around for 6 months, and it's kind of an acknowledgement of everything that's going on. Or maybe it's a situation whereby she does appear, she helps Roxanne Perez actually become, and the Women's Tag Team Champion, she allows Raquel and Roxanne to win, and then maybe there's a situation where Raquel and Roxanne turn on Liv Morgan and they do a thing where maybe they attack her as gingerly as possible to kind of try and protect her, and that's a way to not only write her off television for even longer, but also it's a way to plant the seeds for an eventual return way down the line and turns Liv Morgan babyface. That could also be a plan for the future. Now, what about Naomi cashing in? I think so many people have wondered, just when is Naomi going to cash in her Money in the Bank contract? Now, Naomi has held the Money in the Bank briefcase, of course, since winning the titular ladder match at the Money in the Bank PLE. And just recently, she's got a custom Money in the Bank briefcase. This was reported heading into SmackDown this week, and it was actually unveiled on Friday's episode of SmackDown. Naomi attacked Jade Cargill backstage on the July 4th episode of WWE SmackDown and revealed her custom Money in the Bank briefcase. The briefcase has caution theme and caution tape all over it. Naomi, of course, has been using the proceed with caution phrase since her heel turn following WWE Elimination Chamber. Naomi, of course, won the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase at Money in the Bank, and she is scheduled to compete at the Evolution PLE. She'll be facing off against her longtime rival Jade Cargill in a no-holds-barred match. It will be a rematch from WrestleMania when, of course, Jade Cargill defeated Naomi. Cargill is the queen of the ring. She'll be challenging for the WWE Women's Championship at SummerSlam, but many have sort of speculated and theorized that maybe Naomi could lose this match. We've seen situations where Money in the Bank holders have competed on a night of a pay-per-view or PLE, lost their match, and then later on in the evening cashed in their Money in the Bank contract, and despite being a loser earlier on in the evening, leave the event a winner and actually a world champion as well. So this wouldn't be out of the norm for WWE whatsoever. Sometimes they actually lose the first match just to kind of throw you off the scent that there's any possibility that they could cash in later on. And a lot of people are speculating what we could see at SummerSlam is a situation where Naomi cashes in the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase in the Women's Championship match between Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus. Maybe Naomi cashes in and wins. Maybe it's a situation where Stratus is defeated by Stratton, but then Stratton is attacked by Stratus. This leads to a feud between them. Going into SummerSlam, Naomi wins the Women's Championship. Then you have a situation where Jade Cargill and Naomi is then going to happen for a third time. Of course, we've seen it at WrestleMania. We've seen it at Evolution for a third time at SummerSlam, this time for the WWE Women's Championship. Add in possibly a special guest referee. Who's that? Bianca Belair. And we finally find where her loyalties lay. Is it with Jade Cargill, her original tag team partner, or is it with Naomi, her later tag team partner when Jade Cargill was injured, of course, at the hands of Naomi? She just didn't know it. So you could certainly see a situation where Naomi cashes in and it sets up big plans for the two-night SummerSlam happening in August. What about the Inspiration returning to WWE, the former Iconics? Well, we know they're back in pro wrestling, currently in TNA Wrestling, and it's actually the fact that they're in TNA Wrestling is possibly how they're going to get back to WWE. Now, WWE Evolution 2, as I mentioned, is just around the corner, and the event could get a little more iconic with the Inspiration reportedly, according to recent reports, being considered for a spot on the show. The former WWE Women's and TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Champions have not set foot in a WWE ring since 2020, but they did recently return to TNA, of course a working partner with WWE. WWE and TNA have their working relationship after agreeing a multi-year deal earlier this year. They'd already been working together for about a year anyway, and per a recent report from WrestleVotes Radio, the Inspiration's names have been bandied around WWE Creative for possible participation in the show. And according to those recent reports, though, nothing has been confirmed. And as is always the case, you have to kind of wait to the show to see what's going to happen. Again, if Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee do turn up, it's not clear whether this would be a match, an appearance, sitting in the crowd, what have you. Now, there is a bit of complication when it comes to this. On X, Corey Hayes of Body Slam pointed out that the former Iconics duo are actually booked for a tag team match against Elena Black and Bea Priestley at Prestige Wrestling's Combat Clash in Portland, Oregon on the same night. But this is pro wrestling after all. Cards are always subject to change, and we could see a situation where they get pulled, or we could see a situation where somehow they try and make it in time. I don't know what the travel would be like for that one. You never know. Hayes, though, did corroborate WrestleVotes' report, noting he had heard that McKay and Lee had been discussed for the show as part of any TNA involvement. So it's not completely impossible that we could see the Inspiration back. Now, according to another report, when they did return to TNA, it wasn't for a long time. They were coming in for a short run. Whether that was to gain interest from WWE or just come back after both women had had children and wanted to return to pro wrestling, of course, taking a hiatus from wrestling a few years ago, we'll have to wait and see. But you feel like the Inspiration returning, making it iconic, would be a pretty full circle moment for them, wouldn't it? And finally, could we see possibly the return of Rowdy Ronda Rousey? Of course, she hasn't competed inside of a WWE ring since August of 2023. Her last match taking place at SummerSlam in 2023, losing an MMA rules match, which was obviously widely panned, against Shayna Baszler. Now, since then, she has wrestled a couple of times. It was really in the months after that. It was a show for Lucha Vavoom when she teamed up with Marina Shafir. She then actually wrestled in a Pro Wrestling Revolver Real pay-per-view match, once again teaming with Marina Shafir. Then they actually ran the match back at a Ring of Honor and Honor Club taping as well. But she said that she was pretty much retired from pro wrestling, and she also spoke about how bad her last run in WWE was. She spoke about how she disliked working for the likes of Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and Bruce Pritchard. Of course, Triple H, he now runs creative in WWE, but Rousey did have a brief period of time working for Triple H during that time period. She said when she released her last book and did a lot of interviews, quite scathing of her comments on WWE at the time. She said, quote, "My last run with Vince, Bruce Pritchard, and John Laurinaitis, it was just such a negative experience. Most of them are gone. Bruce's little shit ass is still around, but I'm not overly excited to come back like I was the last time, even though I had so many matches that I very much enjoyed and I had a great time. When I look back on it, I didn't really think of the joy that I had in those matches and those live shows, or that I had so much fun." She also, though, did say that she wouldn't completely rule out potentially coming back, considering now Vince McMahon's gone. She said it would have to be a part-time role due to her second child currently being on the way at the time. She's since given birth. Of course, she's now got 2 children with her husband. She said, quote, "I mean, now that Vince McMahon's gone, I could definitely be convinced," Ronda Rousey said. "I've been hearing great things from the ladies of how it's been under the Triple H regime, so I could be convinced to go back, but I couldn't be full-time like before. I'm going to have another baby, and there's no way I could be on the road. It was so difficult just to take Poe on the road for that time, and I got to start putting my family first." So she hasn't actually ruled it out, and she did actually reveal when she initially left WWE after WrestleMania 35, in an attempt to make her stay longer, they actually offered her a match against Becky Lynch and also Evolution 2. She said, quote, "Well, they offered to bring it back a second time. They said, Ronda, if you stay after WrestleMania, we'll have another Evolution in 6 weeks and have you face Becky as a singles." I was like, I promised my family first. I was saying, I'll only go from WrestleMania until Survivor Series. Then Triple H convinced me to stay from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And I promised my family, okay, that's it. I have kids, a husband, and a home, and I'm gone for weeks on end. So when they said that, I was like, no, I've already asked too much of my family. I can't ask any more of them. I promised them this. I promised you I would stay this long. And I promised them I would only stay this long. And I'm not going to keep moving the goalposts. And I ended up shattering my knuckle anyway. So like I got a little extra little nub now. So it wouldn't have been, I would have been able to use it regardless yet. They tried to dangle that carrot in front of me, but I just couldn't. So she has revealed that WWE did try and convince her for Evolution 2 in the past. Now we've got Evolution 2. Becky Lynch is in action at the event. She's defending the Women's Intercontinental Championship in a triple threat match against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. So I don't think you could rule out Ronda Rousey possibly coming back. There is no John Laurinaitis. There is no Vince McMahon. There's still Bruce Pritchard, but Triple H is in charge and he's in control of creative. Nick Khan certainly is, of course, the president of the company and puts together a lot of these deals too. So you could see a situation where Ronda Rousey returns on a part-time basis and maybe smooths over her relationship with WWE. So there you go, guys. There are 5 potential major surprises that we could see at Evolution. What are your thoughts on some of those? Are they likely, unlikely? Which ones do you think are more likely than others? Let me know your thoughts or reaction to all of it in the comment section below. Over the course of this video, we're now just 39 subscribers away from 23,000. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. If you haven't already, you can join the members of the WN365 universe, and we can get to that 25k in 2025. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in, as always, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.